Welcome to the very first official real Dragon Vlog. As in, real meaning I am actually talking about the show finally, and going through the episodes, kind of recapping the series, arc by arc, kind of, in Japanese, the way God intended, and kind of just talking about my experiences going through this series again after God knows how long for each arc. And being the first one, this is of course the first arc, the Pilaf Arc, episodes 1 through 13, and this is a solid start to the series. The synopsis is just, you guys should pretty much know it by now, but Bulma, is going on a quest for Dragon Balls, meets Goku. Goku is, teams up with Bulma, gets tags along with Bulma. They go on their adventure, meeting all these new characters, and things all kind of culminate with all these new characters that they meet, where they run into Pilaf, and shit goes down. You should know the story. I really shouldn't have to need to synopsize it. I really shouldn't need to. Like, either you've seen these episodes or you should at least be familiar enough with them. I'm not going to give an episode-by-episode breakdown. Watch the damn show, or read the damn manga, or look it up on Wikipedia. Don't care, whatever. Do what you need to. I'm not going to fill in the blanks for it. Yeah, this arc is it's a good solid beginning. It establishes all the things you need to for this series going forward. You get all of your characters lined up. You get the MacGuffins introduced from the very first episode. Our two principal characters, Goku and Bulma, who are going to be like two of the most important characters throughout most of this. The Muten Roshi, who's going to be relevant later on. Yamcha, who is going to be there for relevant events. Not so much relevant himself, but he will be there for relevant events. And Ulan Poir, who will fill space and breathe air. Yumao, who will, is Chi-Chi's dad, and Chi-Chi will be there to be knocked up by Goku in the future. So, it introduces all the important characters going forward. Like, all the characters that really get introduced here, outside of, the Characterizer Bunny, like, all of them are going to be reoccurring characters that are going to stick with the series, with the exception of, like, Pilaf. Or I should say, all of the good guys that are introduced, they're going to be in the series for the long haul. They are going to be just the entire series. They're just going to be with us. And so it's kind of interesting, because that is not something you can say about future arcs. So there's going to be characters who are going to be introduced, they'll stick around for a while, and then they'll go launch. So, that is going to be a thing. But it is not a thing for this arc. Like, these characters, like I said, they're here for the long haul. And speaking of the characters, Goku's the only one that really matters. And by that I mean, like, this is very much the Goku show. I mean, it's Dragon Ball. Obviously, it's the Goku show. But Goku is the only character that gets any kind of development. He doesn't really change as a character, but he gets fleshed out. In fact, everything that Goku knows about his past, the audience learns about his past. And even things that Goku is not aware of about his past, like the whole Luzaru thing, and killing his grandfather, we the audience are informed about. So, we know that he is found in the woods, that his grandfather found him, raised him, trained him in the martial arts. Goku turned into a giant ape, which Goku is unaware of, and killed his grandfather. And then Goku has just been living in the woods since then, cherishing this Dragon Ball as his last memento from his grandfather, even though he has a Nyoibo, his staff, which was also his grandfather's. So you think that would also... doesn't matter. Anyhow, that is Goku. And, so we learn all these things about Goku. Like, pretty much everything there is to know about him at this point. Except for his alien heritage, which is completely irrelevant to right now. And any of the other characters, you can't say that about. Bulma. She's this bitch of a 16-year-old, who wants the Dragon Balls to get a boyfriend. Like, they don't even, explain, why she can't get a boyfriend. It's just, she's 16, hot, and you'll learn later she's rich. Who doesn't want to fuck this girl? Seriously. There've got to be lots of young, handsome guys, or just some sleazy rich guys who want to get in there. Just saying. she has options, but I digress. She's looking for the Dragon Balls for that. Yamcha, he's a desert bandit. He's afraid of girls. That's all we know. Like, what his character is at that point in time, that is what we know about him. We know nothing about his past. We are introduced to Puar and Oolong, and we know they went to shape-shifting elementary school, which is something that will never come up again. Their shape-shifting will come up occasionally, and then it'll get dropped later, but, right now, that is, from here on out, the shape-shifting elementary school thing, I don't think ever gets brought back up. Actually, that's not true. It gets brought back up a little bit later, but yeah, it's not something that other characters will ever bring up. You'll never run to another character's oh yeah, I'm a shapeshifter. You think the Red Ribbon Army or something would have at least one shapeshifter on their team if people could just go to elementary school and learn this shit. Yeah, the fact that it's apparently it's this really common thing that you can just learn, and they're the only two. So yeah, Yumao actually gets a good bit of backstory because he's the student of the Muten Roshi. He knew Gohan, Goku's grandfather. The Muten Roshi as well. We know that he trained Gohan. We know that he trained Yumao. We know that he found the Dragon Ball 100 years ago at the bottom of the ocean. So we know he's really old. Super goddamn old. So there's that. There's that whole thing is explained, but and it's kind of funny. The characters who get the most development in this, the most fleshed, get fleshed out the most, are the characters that are only there for 1 or 2 episodes. Like I said, Gyumao, the Muten Roshi, they get a whole bunch of backstory, or some backstory connecting them. Chi-Chi, there really isn't anything to know. She's Gyumao's daughter. She's in love with Goku, I guess, because Goku kicked her in the vag, I guess. But all the other characters not brought up at all. Bulma that will change later, but as of right now, it is, like I said, it is the Goku show. And while I'm talking about the characters, something I never really thought about until rewatching this was just how kind of contrived the story is here. Not that Bulma finds a kid in the woods and drags him out, but the way the story plays out, the course of events. One of the first people Goku meets is the Muten Roshi, the person who trained his grandfather. His very first time out and about in the world, he meets the Muten Roshi. Then, shortly after that, he meets Gyumao, the man who trained with his father under the Muten Roshi. So, and it's not meeting one lets them meet the other. They met the Muten Roshi and that led them into meeting Gyumao, or they met Gyumao and he's go find the Muten Roshi, and that's how they met the Muten Roshi. They met them independently because of the Dragon Balls. So these 3 characters, Gohan, Gohan, the Muten Roshi, and Gyumao, they all had, they each had their own Dragon Balls, or Dragon Ball, and, just coincidentally. And it's really weird, too, because, for the Muten Roshi, he doesn't even, know that there's any value there. It's the characters don't even know there's value, but they kind of still cherish them. They have no clue what these things are. The Muten Roshi carries his, on a necklace, and he thinks it's just oh, this thing I found at the bottom of the ocean. Here, it's pretty fucking cool, right? He has no clue what the hell this is. So the fact that these 3 characters would find these things and cherish them and keep them is kind of odd, a little. But it is really contrived, though, that Goku, that these 3 just so happened to find them, each find a Dragon Ball, and that led to Goku and Bulma meeting them. Another thing that's really really contrived is Oolong and Puar. They knew each other previously. They meet Oolong, they drag him out of his village, they end up in the desert, and oh look, they meet Puar just by chance. We don't know how Puar knows Yamcha, but we know that Puar and Oolong know each other because they went to the same school, and it just so happened that the very first people that they meet after meeting Oolong is Puar. So that was, another, coincidence, and also another bigger contrivance is when they're all trapped at the end and are in that room, and the sun's going to come up and roast them. Goku, just starts spewing exposition about like, oh yeah, this monster killed my grandpa, lived out in the mountains, it comes out when the moon is full. And everyone's just kind of like, oh, that's a weird story. Yeah, and also my grandpa said I should never look at the full moon. Ever. And everyone's kind of, do you think he's the monster? Nah, he isn't the monster. That's fucking retarded. We shouldn't risk it, though. Goku, don't look at the moon. Looks at the moon. Huh. And then he transforms into a big fucking monster, and then they escape from, their captors. And, like, that pans out really well for them, obviously, because it's like, oh, good thing it was a full moon, and that, like, Pilaf's evil plan involved putting them in a room with, like, a glass top so you could see the moon. Really convenient. But even though it's, like, super contrived, I honestly don't hold that against the storyline, because this is early Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball is known for just kind of being silly and fun, and it's not supposed to really make a whole lot of sense, at least at this point in the story. So, it being super contrived, it's not about, trying to tell like a really good, compelling story. It is, at this point, it's trying to just introduce these fun characters with these weird gimmicks and personalities, and seeing them play off of each other and interact, and just throw out a whole bunch of silly gags and ridiculous fight scenes. That is what this whole arc is about. Like that's where the core enjoyment comes from. You're not here for the deep philosophical, ramblings of the characters. You're not here for emotional pathos and payoff. You're not here for a deep, intricate, involving story with a lot of creativity. You're just here for a big, fun adventure, and that's what this arc is. It definitely delivers there. And I actually think the anime, delivers these things even better because of the filler. Yes, filler is a really good thing in this arc. In fact, filler is a pretty damn good thing in Dragon Ball overall, in my mind. Unless I'm not remembering it correctly, which you'll know if I don't remember it correctly and I go back and I start seeing bad filler and I start calling it out. But right now, at this point, my nostalgia-filled mind remembers the filler being pretty damn good, and this arc definitely holds up to those memories of the filler being pretty damn good. The filler here, Toriyama's manga is really briskly paced. It is just kind of boom, 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 moving you from scene to scene to scene, taking really just no breaks. It's like dialogue scene, gag, dialogue scene, plot point, dialogue, plot points, gag, visual humor. There's really no downtime to let just kind of scenes play out and breathe a little. And the filler does a lot to help that. It kind of just takes the pace, slows it down just a bit with the characters, like the stuff that was in the manga. It takes those scenes, stretches them out just enough to give us some breathing room so you don't feel like you're being rushed through the story. And I really like that. And then the other thing the filler does, the rest of the filler consists of the Pilaf gang. And the Pilaf gang doing their Pilaf gang-y things, trying to find the Dragon Balls. And they're constantly interacting with Goku and the gang, but like they're in the background. Like the gang is never really aware that the Pilaf gang is there. In the manga, the Pilaf gang doesn't show up until the very end of the arc. Which is why a lot of people don't even call the manga version of it the Pilaf Arc. The Pilaf Arc is really just something that makes sense for the anime. But like in the first episode, Pilaf is there. He finds his first Dragon Ball. We get to see that. We get to see all these, like little things that they're doing where they're trying to like fuck over the Dragon Ball gang and like set traps and stuff, and the traps backfire. Great bits of humor with them. All kinds of little fun shenanigans. It really gives them a lot more personality than they had in the manga, at least really early on. We get to see just Pilaf being like a real sadistic prick. We get to see Mai and Shu being bumbling and incompetent, kind of the Team Rocket of Dragon Ball, really, like the Jesse and James. So, and then Pilaf being a really incompetent Giovanni, basically. So yeah, I love the filler here. The filler is so much fun. It adds so much. It really, really does. And yeah, it really just helps tie everything together a bit better. So the else worth bringing up though is the animation. Now, Toei's always been pretty behind the times. They've never looked as good as their contemporaries. Even like if you look at any other anime from 1985, most of them are not like non-Toei animes. Like look at like Dirty Pair or Zeta Gundam or a lot of other shows from that time frame. I think what was another one? Space Adventure Cobra is another good example. The animation there has like you'll see like a lot of fluidity, a lot of detail, and that's something that you really don't see in Dragon Ball. They really are kind of behind the times. Like I said, like Toei is always a good 5 years behind everyone else in the anime, game, except for when they hit the digital age, where now they're just like 15 years behind everyone. But back then, they were only like about 5 years behind. And I always remember Dragon Ball looking more dated than its contemporaries. And because I remember that, I always assumed that Dragon Ball, like it always just kind of looks a little terrible, and it doesn't get better till later on. But honestly, that's not true. Like, it doesn't look terrible. The characters are fairly on model most of the time. Even like Studio Last House, who's notorious for being just one of the worst animation studios to work on Dragon Ball. Also, the studio that's probably worked on the most episodes of Dragon Ball because they're cheap. Even they look fairly serviceable here because, Toriyama's style was way more simple. It was all round and pudgy, and there wasn't a whole lot of detail for them to really fuck up. But then, like, when you do get, like, a really good anime like Maeda on it, you see all these little extra details and flourishes he puts into the character designs and the animations, and, like, little extra facial expressions, and it just adds so much to it, like, when you get to those scenes. Even though the animation is obviously very dated, even for its time, there's a lot of charm to it. Something about that that older animation with Toriyama's chubby character designs, it works. It has this charm to it that you can't hate. At least I can't hate. And it's kind of like looking at like an old NES game. There's something about it that it looks good. Even though it doesn't really look good, but it looks good. I don't know. It's hard to explain. It has charm. It has a charm to its aesthetic. And charm is something that this whole arc really has. It's just very charming. The characters, their interactions, the gags, the adventure itself, the villains, everything about it, just really just clicks and just works and just has this lighthearted, fun feel to it. That's really hard to hate. Well, except for, like, Oolong's, date rapist scene. Yeah, like, and I'm not kidding either. Like, you guys can try to justify this any way you want. Oolong drugged a 16-year-old girl to fondle her naked body. That is a prison sentence offense. Goddamn. That shit would never fly now. And, like, as a teenager, it never fucking dawned on me how fucked up that was. And then I go back and I watch it as an adult and I'm like, this is really fucked up. God damn. Like, Toriyama, I know you're kind of a pervert. Damn, bro. Didn't know you're kind of a, statutory, date rapist, bro. Fuck. But yeah, that part aside, everything else is charming. And, I could sit there, I could just tear apart, like, all the characters are really shallow, and they're not fleshed out enough, and the villain has, like, no good backstory, but who gives a shit? That's not the point of this arc. That's not what the arc is trying to achieve. It's just meant to be fun. Here's your fun characters in this fun situation on their fun adventure, and these fun, stupid villains that they fight, and that is all it's meant to be, and it succeeds perfectly well at doing that. It's not amazing, it's not stellar, but it is a good introduction to this series. And what it sets out to do, it does fairly damn well. And in my mind, it does better than its source material. It exceeds the manga just by having that extra little bit of padding to let the scenes breathe and to give more scenes to the villains who are going to be important later on by pre-establishing them. Those little things add so much. Toei really put their best foot forward. Maybe not in animation and presentation, but everything else, like in terms of like the writing and just, you know, adapting Toriyama's, you know, the first arc of Toriyama's new series. It's good. That's all I really have to say. In fact, right now, as far as these vlogs go, this is the #1 best arc of the franchise. And the reason I'm saying that is because I have yet to watch or rewatch the other arcs of the franchise, and this list is going to keep changing. Every vlog I will be updating this as like, you know, this is now the new #1, or like this is now #3, or like this is getting shuffled around. Like as I watch this list is going to change. But as of right now, you know, the Pilaf Arc is the coveted position of the #1 greatest arc I've seen so far. And then we'll see how long that lasts. If it gets dethroned next video or video after that, who knows? But until next time, Zeon out.